Greetings, everyone. Welcome. I don't even know what tonight is. What is tonight? It's Wednesday night. It's Wednesday night, the 15th. It's awfully nice to have you here. We have a very, very special night tonight that I think if you are a crypto curious, if you're new to crypto, or if maybe you're intermediate into crypto, I think tonight's show will be for you. We're just going to get right into it. We have been asked to be able to provide a live Q&A from those of you who are in the Epic Cash community. You have certainly seen Byeee, who is here with us. And in the background are friends of Becky's and her family's, Captain Byeee, which he has graced my show as well as Byeee. There are interviews down below, and I really recommend you go watch them. Very, very smart, crypto savvy family. And they have a group of friends in their house, and they wanted to be able to just have a Q&A. And we were fortunate enough tonight to be able to get a couple of way smarter guys than me. I have the founder of Epic Cash, Max Freeman, on the line, and then I also want to introduce Mike. He is CEO of two tech companies. And before we introduce and have you say hello, Max, Mike, why don't you just give us a little backstory on what you do, who you are, and all of that good stuff. And look at that hat. That's a hat.
Is that better?
No,
the hair?
No, put the hat back
put
on.
It back. Put the hat back on. Okay. Hat's back on. Sorry about that. Hey, we could do it like that. Well, you should have seen it during peak COVID. It was really bad. All right. So other than being a hair model, as Uncle V mentioned, I do have a little bit of a tech background. I've got an engineering education formally, and then actually founded a communication software company, an enterprise software company, and we work with companies to put all of their communications up in the cloud. We're omni-channel. The formal acronym, if you were to do research on us, would be we are a CCaaS platform provider. We most notably compete with companies like Five9, TalkDesk, Genesys, Mitel. Some RingCentral is another prominent name that you might hear in the space. It's a hyper growth area. It's got a lot of notoriety. But I bring all that up because my perspective comes a little bit from the tech side, but more of the tech business side. I'm relatively new, or at least I thought I was relatively new to Epic. But when I was speaking with Max earlier, I heard him say, and if it wasn't Max, it was somebody else, Max, but I heard somebody say 2 years, 2 months in crypto is the equivalent of 2 years. So by those measures, I've got about 12 years of Epic experience under my belt at this point. But I'm super excited about Epic. It checks all the boxes when you think about some of the challenges that are pretty prominently discussed every day in the media, especially with the resources that are used on Bitcoin. So it's just onerous. It's very expensive to maintain and to use, and transactions take forever if you've done anything. Privacy, the way that Epic does privacy, and we'll let Max explain that, to me is it's brilliant in that it takes me back to the original intent of cash, right? Or bartering or trading, in that if I was to give Uncle V something and he was to give it to Becky and she was to give it to her grandmother would never have known that the dollar bill came from me. And I think Epic, represents that better than anybody. But then when you take all of that with the underlying tech and the improvements that Max and the team of volunteers, which I can't stress enough, having the honor and challenge of having a tech company and having control of my engineers is one thing, but to do that with a team of volunteers, especially when you're talking about the most talented people in the world from a development standpoint, and to manage them through to completion when they're actually volunteers, and they all have their own egos, because I've never met two engineers that see eye to eye on exactly how they should write code, because they all have the best solution, but all solutions lead to the right place. is very challenging. And Max has done a phenomenal job of guiding that team to the place that we're at today. But when you look at the tech and you look at what we've accomplished and where it's set up, the future is extremely bright. And then when you layer in Max's vision for the future, which he'll talk about here shortly, the complete vision is probably better than anything. And it's been anything that I've seen in the crypto world specifically. And it gives me hope for a very bright future, because you're not just looking at Epic Cash as this coin. There is this very vibrant, functional ecosystem that will serve us all very well. So I'm honored to be here on this call. I hope I can add some value and some color and some context. I'm sure that Max will cover everything, but if anybody has a question, I'm here to help, not just today, but going forward. You can find me in Telegram.
Excellent. And you are Mr. P in Telegram or PUCC, one of the two. I think you're both. Thank you, Mike. And Max, why don't you say hello? And for the benefit of the group, know that there's about 20 people who are in the house, and probably most of them are crypto curious, and but are newbies. And there's a contingent there that are like Becky and Captain, who are fairly savvy. But why don't you just give a quick overview? No one can do that better than you, of Epic Cash, why Epic Cash, and a little bit about your vision of what Epic Cash how it can literally change the world.
Wow, where to even begin? So welcome, Becky. Welcome, Captain. Everybody here. If you don't have some coins, get some, whether through mining or set up a Byeee wallet. Epic Fund me, ping somebody on Telegram, find a way to get some. So the brilliance of Bitcoin, I mean, Epic is 98% Bitcoin DNA. It's fresh code from 2019, but it's the Bitcoin idea that Satoshi gave birth to in 2008. BTC is the 2008 code base implementation of that 21 million coins idea. Epic is the 2019 code base vision or implementation of that Bitcoin idea. Same 21 million. 6.5 years from now, at a time point we call the singularity, there will be 20.3 million BTC. That's the $50,000, 10 minutes, $63 to send, and people can spy on you one. And there will be 20.3 million Epic. That's the 1 minute, but it's going to get faster. Currently, a fraction of a cent, going to get cheaper. One, essentially with you've got the same song on the disk in Epic and BTC. But in the case of BTC, it's CD-ROM, and Epic is either Blu-ray or maybe even DVD or maybe even Blu-ray, because we've got an upgradability inherent at the base layer that BTC doesn't have as an older generation technology. So we didn't mess with anything that didn't need to be changed, and we estimate that at about 2%. Specifically, the BTC is quite concentrated in ownership because 2% of addresses own 95% of coins, and for most of its history, it has only been mineable by people that have these giant ASIC computers that currently cost about $11,000 and make as much noise as a vacuum cleaner or maybe a dental drill. And they generate a lot of heat. As Richard says, you need an address in Kazakhstan to really play in that game. And so Epic puts the capability to mine currently in every home with a laptop or a gaming computer. Next year, that means every mobile device. There's 15.1 billion mobiles owned by 7 billion people that will be able to participate in mining and secure the network running a full node. And a big part of why that's possible is because the BTC blockchain is 350 gigabytes. It takes weeks to download and synchronize. Epic is only 2, so you can get the data a lot faster and be on your way. Other major differences are that Epic is completely private. So if I send money to Mike, who sends it to Captain, who sends it to Uncle, who sends it to Becky, we're all going to know everything about each other's money, and external onlookers can also see what it is that we're doing. And if they can see, then they can opine on it. They can interfere. They can impose restrictions and red tape and all kinds of things that impose or impede the free flow of commerce. And so with Epic, it's fluid, it's frictionless. It's just directly from one person to another. If you go back to read the Bitcoin white paper, it doesn't talk about store of value. It doesn't talk about gold. It says Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. And that's what Epic is. It's electronic cash that just happens to be private and happens to be a great store of value. And it does that in a peer-to-peer way using Nakamoto distributed consensus. So that's
Hey,
it
Mac.
in a nutshell. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick question on that. So when we discuss privacy, because you hear Monero is a big one, right? Would the big difference be between us and Monero specifically, or even BTC, is that we don't record or store the transaction history? Is that right? And those guys do. And so even if Monero is private because they've blocked basically everybody from being able to get access to it, if you were a hacker, you could potentially get in there and get their information. But if they tried to do that to us, the information just doesn't exist at all. Is that an accurate statement?
Well, so whenever you get beyond, is it private, yes or no, and then you get into the yes and then, but from whom, under what assumptions and conditions, then you get into, well, is it NSA level, quantum computer level. The bottom line is that before Monero, everything that anyone did on a blockchain, everybody could see. So BTC, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Avalanche, Ethereum, Solana, Polkadot, all of them, everybody can see everything. That's just how they're built. Now, Monero originated in 2014 with a technology called crypto note and ring signatures, which was amazing to provide confidentiality at the base layer that provided fungibility for each currency unit. One XMR is identical to every other XMR because you can't look up on a block explorer and see what address had how many coins and whether they were, quote, tainted, as you can in BTC. So that's great. But the give up is twofold. Number one, the blockchain, despite limited usage, is already over 100 gigs. If it had BTC level usage, it would be well into the terabytes. So the particular way that they achieve the privacy compromises scalability. And so if you want something that's going to be universal cash money for people, if you have a multi-terabyte node, that's just not going to work. So that's one of the ways in which the aging code base of that network is showing its age. The other is that, as you mentioned, Monero does store the information in the blockchain in such a way that it can be unpacked later. The way we like to describe it is that if you walk into a room and there's a puddle on the floor, somebody says, there was an ice sculpture there. Well, you can verify that from the amount of water, but you don't know the shape of the ice sculpture. The information is lost. The way that Monero does it, it stores the transactions with others in such a way that maybe down the line advances in computing will lead your transactions to be able to be linked to another. We don't emphasize the privacy as identity aspect of Epic as some other projects do. If you say Monero, people say privacy coin. If you say Zcash, the same thing. Epic is merely a useful asset, a form of money and currency that happens to have the privacy checkbox ticked as one of its many useful and valuable properties. So the only people that use Monero are ones that care about privacy, because otherwise the compromises wouldn't make sense. Whereas with Epic, it's just useful money. And I would hazard a guess that most people that use it don't even care about that part of it. They're mainly there, at least today, for the scarcity. At the end of the day, for people that are new to crypto, because I know this this reaches a wider audience than we're used to, deep into the weeds on the Friday shows with Epicenter Live. is that ultimately you're talking about a scarcity paradigm. There's only 21 million Epic. You can count on the worldwide network of computers, which is right now, last I checked, was about 12,000 devices securing it. All of those computers, no matter how many are running it, have to share 5,760 coins a day. June of 2023, that goes down to 2,880. A little over 2 years after that, it gets cut to 1,440. And then finally at the singularity, there's only 210 coins a day for the entire planet. And so right now you've got an asset that is producing 5,760 coins a day, almost 6,000. And within 6 years, the blink of an eye, time passes quickly. It's going to go from 5,700 to 200. So what is that, a 90+% reduction, something like that. So in the context of all of the fiat currencies simultaneously losing their value and hyperinflating, they just increased the debt ceiling of the US $2.5 trillion today. No student loan forbearance for you, but there's always enough money for missiles. And here there's going to be less coins produced per day a year and a half from now than today. So the contrast is stark: unlimited infinity versus scarcity.
Becky Boo. Let's get you into the conversation here. You have the group of people there. I think you have a list of questions. Why don't you open it up with one of your questions from the group?
Okay. Yeah, we have everyone here, even my grandma on Zoom.
I know. Ruth is in the house.
Yeah, thanks, Max and Mr. P, for coming out too. Do you want to start with a more broad question for newbies?
Sure.
Well, I mean, actually, Max kind of went over what makes Epic Cash different than other cryptos. How about the total vision for Epic Cash?
Yeah. So do you want to pull up the subway map, Uncle?
Yes, sir. Hold on. By the way, I want to, before we start talking about this, I do want to provide a little disclaimer. I know we recently had a Q&A session on Saturday, and there was a little bit of impression that we were selling versus presenting or educating. And I just want to say that it's really difficult for me to curb my enthusiasm for Epic. And so if it comes across as I'm selling, I'm not. It is just that I have 6 months of documented videos where I have just, this has just been my journey, and I chose to record it. And I came across Max, and there's a video where I did a shitcoin trial on Epic Cash, and that fundamentally changed my life for the better. And since then, I have just been taking a deep dive into it. And when you look at this subway, I will tell you that I still feel like I'm just skimming the surface. So what you're going to see is Max's ultimate vision. But what I want to share with you, for anybody that might think that we are being overzealous, is I just wish if I could rewind back in time. So we're 2 years old, right? Epic Cash is 2 years old. So if you go back to BTC, which launched, was it Max 2008 or 2009?
9.
Okay, so 2009. So let's say they're 2 years old and it's 2011. And if we had the benefit of having Satoshi Nakamoto on a Zoom call back in 2011, where even if he disguised his voice and used a pseudo image or whatever, that's where I feel we're at right now. I mean, we have the founder of Epic Cash on the line right now, being able to give you this amazing vision. So it is not about selling. This is not a multi-level marketing a presentation. This is just a Q&A where we were invited to come on with your group. So thank you for hosting that, Becky Boo. But I just did want to give that little qualifier there that I just can't help it. I'm so darned excited about this, and for good reason. So Max, here's the subway map. Where do you want to begin?
Well, the only place it makes sense to start is Epic. So what is Epic? Epic is Bitcoin, the Bitcoin monetary standard of scarcity, 21 million in the year 2140. So Bitcoin is the greatest monetary invention in the history of ever, but it's not perfect because, well, let's just start with if I denominate a contract and then let's say a rental contract for 5 years, and then today it's one value, tomorrow it's another value, and the next week it's another, somebody's going to be very unhappy. When the price goes to the moon, there's one guy who wins and then the other guy who loses. So volatility vis-a-vis the dollar reference point environment that we live in is a very big thing. And so if you look at the rise of stable coins like USDT Tether and USDC Circle, they're about 150 billion of market cap currently. And so that speaks to the market appetite for a cryptocurrency asset that doesn't have the same volatility profile as the others. So EUSD is a key component, but there's been about 250, maybe more now that I think of it. That was the last time that I did a survey. So probably over 300 now stablecoin attempts, and it's really hard. So to make a coin stable around a dollar, it sounds trivial, but it's actually quite hard, and most of them blow up. So we reference EUSD as a crypto dollar that over time we hope will we can navigate the glider close to stability. But in the beginning, we're going to call it a crypto dollar. And what that means is that if you have one EUSD token, it's a stored value representation of you can always redeem it for $1 worth of Epic at the current rate. So today, one Epic is about $5. That would be 0.2 Epic. If we go to $1, that would be 1 for 1. If we go to $10, it would be 0.1, and so on. So for people that want to use Epic as their settlement layer, as the value transfer layer, but denominate their affairs in EUSD, let's say like that contract example, now we have a solution for them. Now, in order to make that alchemical magic work, we need to do certain things. One of them is to wrap the Epic native coins into tokens so that they can ride on the infrastructure of other blockchains. For example, partners such as Avalanche and Cadena and Solana and other places like that. The notion of partnership in blockchain and cryptocurrency gets messy. You know, how do two protocols quote partner with another with one another? There's a lot of press releases and marketing and so forth that goes into it. But essentially, the idea is that we're going to wrap Epic into E1 tokens or allow users to wrap their tokens into E1, and then they can ride as if, imagine you put your car in a shipping container and then it goes on a boat and then it gets transferred to a railroad car to your ultimate destination. That's kind of the analogy there. So you have your, your Epic. Yeah, go ahead.
Mac, is that like wrapped Bitcoin basically? Is that the equivalent?
Exactly. Yeah, so WBTC is the innovator and market leader in the category currently. It's about 14 billion market cap, 250,000 wrapped coins. But the problem with WBTC that a lot of people don't like, that's holding it back, is that you give up the censorship resistance because the underlying BTC is actually held by a company, centralized custodian called BitGo. And so let's say BitGo gets sued or hacked or has some kind of problem. Well, then the asset underlying the wrapped BTC goes poof. So you have to you have to account for the risk there, and a lot of people don't want to do that. So there's only about 1.5% of the supply of BTC that is willing to wrap into tokens. 250,000 out of 19 million. That's not a lot. So in our case, what we're doing with E1 is our partner OneChain enables people to do the wrapping and take out the centralized custodian. So essentially, the keys will live on the decentralized network of nodes from the OneChain network, and therefore there's no BitGo in the picture to be vulnerable. So in every case, what we're trying to do is look at the existing market leaders and figure out how we can improve on the key properties and provide a more compelling alternative. And that's a great example.
So I know that one of the questions that was presented before, can you then explain how ultimately we can borrow versus our own Epic Cash asset? And someone had mentioned they're really interested in like the Epicurean card or being able to somehow be able to spend your Epic Cash via a credit card or debit card of sorts. Can you unpack that?
Yeah, so let's say that's where ECR comes in. ECR is the equity and governance token of our ecosystem. If you imagine, they don't let you into the Costco store without being a member. You can't watch Netflix videos unless you have a membership pass. Amazon Prime, same kind of thing. So ECR is what you need to get access to this type of stuff. So let's say let's say you have $1,000 worth of Epic and you want to go buy something and you don't want to have to sell the coins. What you can do, and right now, today, based on the functionality of the Epic chain itself, it requires the wrapping and using other blockchains to do this in the fullness of time. That will become more native and will reduce the steps involved and make more of that computation occur on our blockchain alone. But under the hood, it should be fairly seamless. At least we're working to make it so. So let's say you have something you want to buy and you have Epic to pay for it, but you don't want to have to sell your Epic. What you can do is post it as collateral. This is where you use some amount of ECR. We don't know the ratios yet. And you post your Epic as collateral into your own Bank of Uncle V smart contract vault and say, okay, I want a $100 loan. The initial settings are I'm going to put $200 of Epic into this vault, and I'm going to issue myself a 100 EUSD loan. Now I can take those EUSD tokens and buy what I want. If they insist on using fiat currency, then I can off-ramp that from EUSD to USD, use those USD to buy, or of course, just use them directly. Essentially, EUSD is in that case functions as an equity line of credit against a user's Epic holdings that enables them to access their spending power without having to sell the coins, incur an immediate tax liability, and also to compromise on the trustlessness, because everything we've described is it occurs in a context where the user keeps the control of their keys and they don't have to trust anyone. So if you look at earlier models, crypto-based lending and borrowing and things like this, you would have to give your coins to a financial institution and then they would give you a loan. And so it's the traditional model just applied to a new context. Here, it's just you interacting directly with smart contracts and you are always in control.
And ultimately with the Diego wallet, and I know this is not the first version, but we're going to be able to do all of this with within our own wallet on our own blockchain, right?
Yeah, so essentially what we want to do is create currency standards that live across different blockchains. So the role of Epic is to provide that 21 million scarcity. And as long as there's integrity of the wrapping process, and there is, let's say there's 4 million that are wrapped and the rest are not, or vice versa, or whatever, it doesn't really matter. Similarly, how many EUSD live on Polkadot versus Solana versus Cardano versus some other one? It really doesn't matter. The market will decide all that type of stuff. What we're focused on is building the building blocks at the atomic level just the raw materials for people to create new types of services and financial products.
So
Hey,
where did,
Max,
go ahead, Max.
sorry, Uncle V, just a quick question. So at some point, do you envision almost having like an Epic, credit card, right? So like instead of having my Amex, I have an Epic, and I can go in and use that. Is that in the vision, and like what's needed to fulfill that piece of the vision?
So everything here is just free software protocols. Anything that involves banking or fiat is a creature of meat space, and that involves corporations and lawyers and contracts and licenses and all that good stuff. So that's outside of scope for the blockchains themselves, but we do have answers for that coming. There's some people, excuse me, working on something called Freeman Express. So the idea is, let's say you have your Epic, you want to access spending power. They don't take crypto. You need to do it the old-fashioned way. Okay, let's enable people to on-ramp and off-ramp through a card. So not to let the cat out of the bag too much, but there will be, it's getting close, so I can talk freely about it. Freeman Express will be coming into gestation a lot sooner than people think. And so ACH, credit, debit, gift card, bill pay, wire transfer, all that good stuff, everything crypto to fiat, fiat to crypto will be available through Freeman Express. So hoping, I hate to give timelines, but a lot of this stuff has been in the works for, in many cases, years. So, let's say definitely first half of 2022 on that basic availability of certain Freeman Express stuff.
And so what would that mean if I had, let's just say $10,000 of Epic cash? Would I have to be able to put it on a debit card? Would I have to sell $1,000 if I wanted $1,000 onto a debit card? Or
so the mechanics of the transaction are, you first have to wrap your Epic coins.
okay,
Let's assume that's still in case. That's going to be the case for a while. So you have the requisite amount of Epic, and they are already wrapped. And then what you would do is you would post those as collateral to backstop a loan to yourself of EUSD.
Mhm.
And so essentially you would have an outstanding loan of EUSD, and you would have your coins in that smart contract as collateral.
Mhm.
And then to receive your coins back, you have to pay off that same number of EUSD. And that's where the magic comes in, because the tendency of the dollar is to go down in value over time. Related to Epic. And so the amount of Epic coins that you have to post as collateral is greater than it will be to retrieve them. And so in the math examples that you've done before, let's say you need to put 10 coins in to secure the loan. Maybe by the time you pay it back, it only takes 1 coin, something like that. Scarcity, time is on your side when you're able to do these types of things.
So Max, if I was to put that into non-crypto example, would it be the equivalent of owning a piece of real estate and saying, hey, it's paid for, right? So I bought this great apartment building, it's paid for. I need to get some cash. I'm going to get a loan out, but I don't want to give up my property. I don't want to sell it because I believe 10 years from now, it's going to appreciate and be worth more. So 10 years from, 10 years in the future, it's worth more. I had this little loan for $100,000 that I took out to put money in my pocket. When I refinance it, I'm paying off that loan, but I still own the property. That's basically what you're describing?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. That's cool.
Okay, so in the example that you just gave, then where does the connection to like a Epicurean card or a card come into play? So I get that it's with EUSD. Now I have that. But it would sure be nice to be able to then just say, okay, there's my.
So anybody can do anything with any of these protocols. Freeman Express is just one company. I hope there's lots that will come in and offer this type of stuff, just like there is for BTC and ETH and other types of assets.
Okay, so Freeman Express would basically would basically be your on and off ramp for EUSD. right? So
It
that
would
you
be and on off ramp. There should be many of them.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I think we probably let's see. Stella Curry has been waiting. I'm gonna stop screen sharing this and come back to you, Becky Boo. And I don't know if we answered the question or if we complicated, if everyone's eyes are glossing over, but that's how this project rolls. There's so much to eat.
It might be a mix of all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So is there another question that you have?
Yeah, we have a bunch of questions. I know my mom just asked, so in terms of the loan aspect of it, in the case that someone doesn't pay back the loan or can't pay back the loan, how will that affect others in the market?
Well, it doesn't, because the loans are over collateralized by the amount of epic that is there to secure them. So just like a pawn shop, if you don't pay your loan, they sell your your slot machine or whatever you gave as collateral. The same thing here. So that's why the collateralization ratio is going to start out fairly high at 2-to-1. Over time, we of course hope to bring that down, but we need to keep the system solvent. So we'll see how people behave. In an equity-based, fully reserved banking model or lending model here, there isn't the same risk of default as there is when it's a fractionally reserved or not fully allocated type of model.
So Max, is it non-recourse? Is it like, so like in real estate, there's recourse loans, there's non-recourse.
So I think recourse is when they take it if you don't pay, right?
Right. So you personally guarantee it. So if you have a commercial property, the only thing that they can get access to is the asset itself, and not come after you.
Yes. So non-recourse, yes, it's only the asset, because the smart contract doesn't know who is doing what. It's just ones and zeros.
So the only way that that could I'm not going to say come back and bite you is if there's real volatility in the market, and based upon the loan amount, if Epic Cash went down by 60%, let's just say, then that could almost be like taking out a short, right?
Well, there's many vectors that come into play. Remember that because we're targeting the equity spending power access use case, where the assumption is the person would have had to sell their coins to afford the purchase in the first place.
Right.
And by avoiding that, the fact that the market has gone down means your position actually kind of improves, because you're up the asset that you bought as well. So depending on how you want to slice it, I mean, you can look at all the different parts, but yeah, absolutely, people need to be responsible, and we don't want to get into a 2006 CDO cube type situation.
Right. So, and that is something important, that if somebody did, let's say you had $100,000 worth of crypto, right, and of Bitcoin, BTC, and you wanted a $50,000 car. Well, you would have to not only sell the 50,000, but you would have to sell likely $75,000 because you have to pay taxes. And so now you're only left with 25% of your Bitcoin as an appreciating asset. Whereas in comparison with the Bank of Me or Bank of You or Bank of I, you are staking that $100,000 of crypto and staking it with ECR. And then you get that $50,000, but yet your $100,000 is still appreciating. All $100,000 keeps appreciating. That appreciation is yours. And you never have to pay the loan back, and you don't pay any interest on it. So as long as the design of Epic Cash holds, which it will, because we have a dozen years worth of history with the original Bitcoin protocol. It is designed because the scarcity price go up. So ultimately, that tiny little loan, you may never pay it back. It may just be epic dust at some point in time because of the appreciation. But the power is, and when people get this, they'll not ever want to sell their epic because it is an appreciating asset. So you are tax advantaged with this model. And that when that light bulb finally went off, I'm like, oh man, now I get it. I get it. You're a genius. Thank you, Max. All right, Becky, next.
Yeah, so most people that are newbies that get into crypto will invest on a centralized exchange like Coinbase for Doge or Shiba. So how is Epic, other than having incredible use case, differ in tokenomics?
I'm sorry. How is Epic different than
Like a Doge
Shiba
or
and
Shiba?
Doge?
Yeah.
So I don't know too much about Shiba, but Doge is mainly a speculative asset. I don't think the blockchain itself has much use. And so you essentially have a crowd gambling phenomenon, like a social entertainment type of thing, rather than a workaday utilitarian blockchain. Epic is simply about moving packets of value, like the internet itself is moving packets of data so that we can live stream and watch videos and send emails and so on. So the meme coins are very, very interesting because they show the power of community and how a group of people with really not much to underpin it at all in terms of an actual blockchain. In the case of Doge, that's kind of an optional part of the picture. On Robinhood, as an example, people don't even can't withdraw coins and don't even care to. In many cases, it's become abstracted away from the actual original function of the cryptocurrency itself. Here, there's a little bit of that, but it's basically about if Federal Express costs $15 to overnight an envelope, next day delivery at 2 p.m. and then some competitor comes out and says, well, we'll give you next day delivery 9 a.m. for 7 cents. I mean, of course, people would switch to the service, and that's kind of the equivalent here. When you want to send a payment, you want it to get there fast. You want it to be high quality service, and you don't want to pay a lot for it. And so on an apples to apples basis, Epic provides that which only BTC could historically. And so the meme coins are ones that we've been benchmarking and studying. There's a lot of successful things to learn from. Ultimately, those are not they're not sustainable because the value is what is the value of a Beanie Baby that was hot 17 Christmases ago? Not so much, but you can always eat like a bag of beans. I mean, maybe that's a bad example, but here there's some basic floor, at least is our thought process, underpinned by that intrinsic value of being able to transact with someone at a distance. If you listen to Peter Schiff or some of the CNBC type gold bug people that say cryptocurrency has no intrinsic value, that's actually a misunderstanding, because while it is true that you can't eat it, the intrinsic value is that trustless transaction at a distance, which is a capability that before these technologies existed it wasn't possible.
Hey Max, I believe Shiba is a ERC20 token, right? And so that's just fundamentally different than Epic Cash, correct?
So I'm not sure. I don't know too much about Shiba, but that let's go with that. I believe so. If it is an ERC20 token, then yes, it's an asset that rides on another blockchain, in this case, Ethereum. And so it is bounded by the capabilities of that system itself. Epic is a layer 1 protocol that is the native asset of the chain. A token is an asset that rides on the chain. There's thousands of Ethereum ERC20 tokens that ride using Ether as the fuel of that chain. Epic 2 will become a multi-asset system a few versions down the line, but today it's only a single asset system. That's why we wrap it into the E1, or we intend to wrap it,
Right.
and use the smart contract plumbing of other chains.
But we ride on our own chain, right? So I think,
Yes.
from my understanding, Becky, with Shiba, it's an ERC20 token, which as Max described, it rides on top of the Ethereum network, right? The Ethereum chain, which, if you guys have done any Ethereum or had any tokens that ride on that, the gas fees are pretty expensive. And I think with the beautiful architecture that is underlying Epic, we don't have a lot of that overhang, so it's a lot more efficient. But Epic Cash itself is a coin, and Shiba is a token, if that makes sense to you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
And also, both Shiba and Doge have billions upon billions of supply, so they don't have the same scarcity profile. There's only 13 million Epic. You have to really dig deep to find one that has a scarcity profile anywhere close, and usually they're quite high in terms of the individual token prices. The psychology behind the huge supplies of the meme coins was in large measure, I mean, I think Doge was the trailblazer, and then other people recognized this. The idea of, oh, if it only goes to $1, we'll all be rich. And then you have people like calculating, well, it'll be 470 quadrillion dollars, which would be like 17 times the GDP of the planet for 5,000 years or something. But the psychology is appealing. And actually, sometimes it gets there. Hey, let's make some TikTok videos and pump the coin. That's not what we're doing here.
Yeah. So, Max, can you explain fair launch? Because that's one thing, like with any of these coins that have that unlimited supply or that have been pre-mined, you end up basically battling human nature, where the people who created these projects have so many coins that really what they do is they invest in marketing. And you have a guy like Elon Musk, for example, who all he has to do is do a few tweets. Maybe he's been acquiring a boatload of Doge, behind the scenes, because he knows as soon as he makes a tweet, everyone's going to go buy it. And then that you buy into their sell wall. And that's how it works. And that's about that. So many projects, when you look at the charts, they go like pretty even, and then they spike up, and then they come down, and they never recover. With Epic, with the fair launch, that's not the case, right, Max? There's literally no way that can happen.
Yeah, this is super important. So almost everything that came out in the past 5 years has either an ICO or a pre-mine, which both of those are problematic today in today's environment for many reasons, in no particular order. If you do an ICO, then the regulators generally have all kinds of ways to come at you. Kin, Telegram, Block One, many deals have been blown up by the regulators, so that's no good. If you do a pre-mine, then you have this early group of people, and I would include pre-mine as Instamine, early mine. Oh no, this is just a test net. We're just kidding. Don't anybody mine this. It's just me and my buddies. Oh, now it's a real network. I know which which one we're talking about here. So none of those types of shenanigans. It's really important for a wide distribution that the that everyone has an equal and fair chance to get the coins, because otherwise it's like a tilted playing field and someone has their thumb on the scale and the outcome has been determined ahead of time for the benefit of certain parties. Cryptocurrency is now over a dozen years old, and we've seen thousands of examples of things that work well and things that work not so well, and we've been learning from all of those. And the net of it is that we felt that it was super important for many reasons to make sure that absolutely everyone has the same chance to get the coins. You, me, Yoga, Todd, everybody, Spencer, everybody that has coins had the same exact chance to mine them, buy them, do whatever for them. We had a neutral level playing field. If we go back to the history of BTC, then Satoshi was the early whale miner. I think he got up to 1.2 million coins. Interestingly enough, we published a test net. The only promotion that we really ever did was the few months in advance of launch. We ended up having a test net up for 5 months before the network launched in September. And we wanted to make sure that everybody had a chance to come in and mine. So GPU, CPU, and ASIC were all supported, Mac, Windows, and Linux. The original start date was supposed to be Independence Day, July 4th. But because of needing to handle all of the different device types, it took 2 months. 2 months longer. And actually, looking at the hash rate charts, which I did recently, it took us until just this past week to get past the hash rate of the first day. There was such a peak of excitement on the first day that just tons of hardware was coming in. Yeah. And so it was always funny, when we were under a penny in March 2020, the haters and trolls would come out. Oh, whales have all the coins, this and that. Oh, really? There was a lot of hardware coming in and hashing. And then the scarcity came into focus. So in the beginning, there were 23,000 coins a day created, and then that was 11,500, and then 5,760. And now everybody knows in a little over a year, that's going to be cut in half. And so the one thing the maxis have right is number go up technology. It's a wonderful thing. It's literally designed to go to infinity in USD terms. The only thing that is more powerful in terms of wealth accumulation than Epic is ECAP.
Okay, and we're not going to go to ECAP because that would make my eyes gloss over. So
yeah, the only thing better than disinflation is hyper deflation. We'll leave it there. We'll tease it for later.
Hey, Uncle, I have a question, if I can ask it.
Yes, sir.
So Becky, I think it's really cool that you and your family are here, but I'm particularly interested in your grandmother, Ruth. She's joined the call, and I'm just curious about your experience, Ruth, and what questions you have about crypto, and have we answered any of those questions on this call?
Actually, you did answer a question that I've been really thinking. I was trying to figure out what's the big difference between Epic and all the rest. And the one thing I got out of this so far, and tell me if I'm wrong, that it is a cash to cash basis, meaning that you have your own little section. And if, let's say, I took a loan against myself, it doesn't affect my coins growth. And I kind of like that. So that's the one thing I just got from listening. I didn't learn a lot about all these other things, because I don't know what the hell that's all about. But I did get really that if I take a loan out of if I needed money for some reason, that it doesn't affect the coinage because it still's going up. And that kind of, so that was one thing that I got out of it. Yeah.
And the other thing is you can pay anyone, anywhere, anytime, any amount for any reason. And nobody has to fill out any forms, and there's no holidays. It's 24/7. So that's always an eye opener as well. We're used to dealing with money, asking permission. It's always a crapshoot. I swipe my card. Is it going to work or not? Like, oh, system error. Come back on Tuesday. Banking holiday. Poof, it's gone. Here, you click the transaction and it's done. So that's always a bit of magic for people as well. The ability to transact with anyone else on the planet and have nobody stand in the way or even know that you're doing it is fairly profound as well.
Yeah, and Ruth, I mean, I'm just thinking about my own personal experience. I started acquiring Epic at, let's call it 25 cents. It was 24 cents. And so since then, I mean, we've gotten up to, I think 680 has been our all-time high, around that, right? So from 25 cents to 680, and I believe by the end of the month, I still am standing by my target of $10. But think about that. If I would have taken out a loan, right, at 24 cents, right?
Yes.
As I've appreciated, what, 20x, 25x? It's like you get to a point to where that little bitty 24-cent loan down there is dust, right?
Yeah.
And so if the design of this and the future of this, I mean, I never tell anyone to do anything that I haven't done myself. And a lot of people would say I'm absolutely nuts for going narrow and deep, but I'm fully invested in Epic Cash because I do believe that it will one day surpass Bitcoin. I think it will flip in Bitcoin because people are going to start getting the fact. But let me just ask this. What if the government comes out and they say, we are going to, and I think it's in the bill to be considered, we're going to tax 80% of your crypto, even unrealized profits, right? Imagine that. Now, with Bitcoin and with all of these other coins, they can see what your unrealized profits are. With Epic Cash, you can't see nada, nothing.
Oh,
And so there is that element of measure where we do not say we are a privacy coin, that's our use case, but it just happens to be that our blockchain is private. Our transactions are private. It would be like, just me spending cash. And
Another way to put that without exposing oneself to risk is to say that at present there isn't a lot of demand for confidentiality because these mooted things are just theoretical. But imagine if now just merely by owning something, you have an ongoing cost component. Like when you own real estate, you have to pay property tax every year, and if you don't, then it gets seized. That's an ongoing drain to your cash flow for owning the asset. Right now, crypto doesn't have that, but going forward, it will. And here, the mechanics of collection are, let's just say different. Of course, everyone should always endeavor to make best efforts to comply with all of their obligations and render unto Caesar. But in one case, it becomes straightforward and automatic and just poof, it's gone. In another case, there's an opt-in component to it. So that is something that people may find more valuable than they do today because they don't even know they need it.
yeah, and Ruth, I'll make one more comment. Do you know that if you buy a Bitcoin today on CoinMarketCap or somewhere else, I don't care where, but there are surveillance companies that literally they'll know everything about that Bitcoin, and you could be at risk to where 6 transactions back, that Bitcoin was a transaction in something on the dark web for nefarious reasons, right?
right.
And by the time it hops to you and gets to you, there is always a risk that somebody may tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, that Bitcoin that you own right there, 6 transactions back, was, now this is called a tainted Bitcoin. So there are tainted Bitcoins in the system. So with Bitcoin, there is always a risk because carried within that Bitcoin is its entire history. Now, my $100 bill that I have in my pocket that I got from the bank or whatever, or I got from an ATM, maybe 6 hops back, that was involved with somebody buying cocaine, rolling it up and snorting it, right? But guess what? If I pull out my $100 bill, nobody's going to be able to tell that or seize it because that happened way back then. But they can with Bitcoin, they can't with Epic Cash.
Okay, that's the question I have for you. So what type of coin are we using? I don't know. I'm sorry, I really don't know anything about these coins. So what I'm trying to understand is we don't use Bitcoin. What coin do we use?
So you use Bitcoin to acquire Epic Cash currently. So yeah, that's how you currently have to do it.
Okay.
So ultimately, you need to get fiat into the system through Coinbase or Byeee and Captain. They would be able to help you figure that out. Currently, the best way to acquire Epic Cash is you acquire Bitcoin first and you get rid of it real quick. You send it over to the Byeee multi-wallet exchange, and then that's where everything happens. So it's just like it's like the Byeee wallet, if you will. Just think of it as a grocery store, and the Epic Cash is in the grocery store, and that's where you buy it. But you need to take your cash to go walk in there, and so think of your Bitcoin as your cash, and you go in, and that's then where you take that cash or Bitcoin in the store. You put them all in your basket, as many as you can afford, and then that's where you pay with your Bitcoin. And then you have your Epic Cash that you can take back home with you, put it in your cupboards, and nobody knows it's there.
I see. Okay. That was where I was a little confused. Okay. It's making a little bit more sense to me. There's a lot of things I don't know, but I'm getting making a little bit more sense.
Can I share with you, Ruth? At the beginning of this year, I knew only how to spell Bitcoin. I knew nothing about cryptocurrency. So I'm giving you a year. And I think you're going to be teaching the rest of us.
Another way is to earn it as well. Uncle's daughter, Alex, has generated a lot of revenue from her arts and crafts, selling them for Epic. So let's say if you have a small business or you provide somebody a service, the way that most people acquire it today is through purchasing or mining, of course, but really there's nothing preventing you. And I would encourage everyone to look at the advantages of asking to be paid in Epic, because when you get paid in the old fashioned way, the moment you receive that revenue, it's a melting ice cube or a browning banana. It's going to start losing value from the moment you receive it, because the cost of living goes up due to the currency creation process known as inflation. Whereas $1's worth of revenue in Epic generally tends to go up in value over time. And so there's a small business here, coffee shop, that just in my quest for adoption over the course of the year, every time I whip out the debit card, I'm going, hey, when are you going to get with the program on the new way? And so finally, the owner has the app on her phone, and I send her the $1.99 or whatever for coffee here and there. And every time she looks at it and goes, oh my God, what's up with this thing? Why does the number of dollars keep going up so much? And I'm like, no, it's not dollars. You have a certain number of coins that I gave you, and the dollar value of those coins go up. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Oh, well, I still don't understand. Come back next week, buy some more coffee. And I'm like, oh God, if you just switch 2% of your coffee business to this, you would have so much money that you would not have to be in the coffee business anymore. You could be like a retired coffee magnate if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'm just going to show off. So my daughter was on, she's a very, very talented stained glass artist. And in Twitter, that's where she was selling all of her stained glass. And they messed with the algorithm to where it's like her sales went to like nothing. Nobody was seeing her work anymore. And so she was very, very frustrated and about ready to give up. And I sent over a JPEG of the Epic Cash coin. And I said, what can you do with this JPEG? And so she made this, and my jaw dropped. I'm like, that is so beautiful. I said, you need to make a series of 100 of these. Like, this is 2 of 100. And she has done that. And she pivoted her entire business from accepting green cash to accepting Epic Cash. So I asked her, all right, based upon the time that it took you to make that and the materials, what would you normally charge if that was one of your monarch butterflies? And she said it was like around 600, 556. I said, okay, you're gonna sell these for the equivalent of $500 in Epic Cash, regardless of what the price of Epic Cash is. And back then it was a lot lower than it is now. And so what she has learned is an important economic lesson, that if she sold that for $500 of green cash, then she would likely spend it, right? And her green cash, even if she put it in the bank, would be worth $500 3 months later. Well, that same $500 in Epic Cash has risen by 4 times. It's like $2,000, right? From the early coins that she was selling. And so she's like, holy cow. So now she's starting to get an economics degree and realizing the power of Epic Cash, that it is an appreciating asset. And yeah, and it is just amazing. So where your buying power with green cash goes down every year by 15%. If you had $1,000, next year, the equivalent buying power is going to be $850. So of the same goods, let's say the exact same goods, you would have to pay more for the exact same goods next year, and so on. But with Epic Cash, the price goes down. I mean, there's going to be a point in time to where, like, I have it right here. This weekend, I went and bought, here's my receipt. I did this just because I want to prove this. I found a Wild Fork Foods, and I love me some beef, and I love me some good quality meat. And I bought $1,115 worth of meat, and I denominated it in Epic Cash. So Epic was $6.44. So it cost me $173 worth of Epic. I'm going to do this same thing next year. And I bet you the same amount of meat is going to cost me under 10 Epic. That's how much this asset is appreciating. And when people start denominating in Epic Cash, then that's when the lights really go off. Sorry, Becky, I know that I think you've been handed a couple of questions. Let's get to those.
Yeah, we had a question about possible government regulation in the future with cryptocurrency. And then also with for instance, an Epicurean credit card. Is there anything you can say to speak on that?
Yeah, so we actually spent a lot more time with lawyers than with tech people. That was the harder part of the design challenge. So I'm proud to say that we're on safe ground, not just today, but in the future, due to the design of where we are. A lot of people think privacy equals somehow government will have a problem with it. The particular way that we go about it doesn't impede the 3-letter agencies from finding bad guys. They still have access to all their normal tools and techniques and tricks. But what we do is make it so that if you pay somebody, they can't snoop on your wallet. And so it's really a concern at the surface level that then you think about it and go, well, maybe actually that's an advantage, because out of the 13,000 plus assets out there, almost all of them have vulnerability related to regulatory stuff, and we don't. And so the older assets will be fighting rearguard actions, dealing with the consequences of their technical debt and obsolete architectures in many cases. And we will have a clean sheet to build on. So no, I'm not especially concerned about regulations, and if anything, they are likely to be strongly positive for us, because they are quite negative for a lot of the other assets that are alternatives. And as those become more curtailed, then naturally more goes to us. So for Freeman Express, again, that's just one provider. It's an open marketplace. There's no special privileges to any commercial outfits, that one or any other in any part of the ecosystem. That is with a licensed, regulated, like Federal Reserve, level type person or outfit, with all the proper licenses and so on. So that's really the name of the game in that. All of the fiat connectivity stuff, from ACH to Zelle and everything in between, has to go through partners, because in many cases it's many years and millions or tens of millions of dollars to get those, and quite substantial ongoing operating costs. So over the past number of years, we've assembled a list of high quality partners that already have all that infrastructure and capabilities, and we just ride alongside them. So if they've already been licensed and regulated and are all set up for years, then that's unlikely to change, and we can feel comfortable that there won't be any disruption. I remember from the early days of crypto, I would hear, oh, I got this great debit card, but it doesn't work anymore. I have to replace it every 3 months. I went from this company to this company to this company. Years ago, it was a whack-a-mole game of things that became possible, then stopped being possible as the landscape shifted. Now it's a lot more predictable, and there's a lot more high-level buy-in from the associations. In this case, Visa and MasterCard are both quite supportive and focused on crypto. One of our potential partners is a company called unbanked.com, and they're a Visa fast track partner. There's another one that I'm not at liberty to name yet, but it's a similar story.
A lot of good things going to happen in 2022, everyone. It's you can see the roadmap, and just I think after hearing Max, that there's lots of conversations happening behind the scenes with major partners who are equally excited about Epic Cash as we are and want to be involved. They like they love the idea of Epic Cash. So, all right, what else you have, Becky? We have let's call it 15 minutes left.
Okay. We got a question about privacy for us is great, but what about the business reporting their revenues? How will businesses file taxes?
So in your QuickBooks software or any other accounting package, just like if you received revenue in Swiss francs or a barter transaction, the rules are very clear, and you just do it the same way as those. So there's nothing special about crypto or within crypto that has private transactions that would affect that.
Thanks, Max. And then we had another question. How would Epic be scalable for a global solution?
That's one of my favorites. So right now, if you look at Visa, so BTC does about 4.5 transactions a second. Epic in its current configuration can do about 17, but we know how to squeeze a lot more throughput, as it's called, out of it. So Visa and let's say Visa and PayPal are approximately 100 million transactions a day, the last I checked. And so that would be on a steady state level, which it's not, it's kind of bursty, which is another wrinkle to accommodate, but about 1,000 transactions a second. Now we've done the calculations out for the next few versions of Epic, and we're going to be field testing that in our ECK Canary network to get some real world experience. We feel quite confident that we'll be able to handle Visa and PayPal scale transactions, not in 5-10 years, but quite a bit sooner. The basic underpinnings are there. It's just a matter of market demand and some of the other rate limiters. So we don't think there's going to be any capacity issues. That's really why we chose Mimblewimble. It does have the privacy benefit, but we arrived at it from our search for scalability. For those who are new, Mimblewimble is a compression technology for blockchain that takes all of the transactions in a block and aggregates them together. It's an offsetting process, a netting process. If I send to you and you send to me and you send it back and forth 10 times, in other networks, all those transactions are recorded one after the other sequentially. In Epic, all of them are joined together in a process known as coin join, and then the data is cut through. So it results in a much more compact data footprint without sacrificing the security. Some earlier approaches that reduce the data size, they give up the data integrity and essentially replace trust, just saying, oh, well, you know, the data's cool. Of course you can believe it. Well, the whole point of blockchain in many people's eyes, including my own, is that you don't have to do that. And so with Epic, like BTC, that uninterrupted integrity from the genesis of the system is available for all transactions.
And with Mimblewimble, you then have a much more compact blockchain, 2 gigabyte, right, Max, in our and that allows people to be able to mobile mine. So there'll be a point in time in 2022 to where you're going to be able to mine on your own cell phone, and that opens up the whole world to be able to generate income simply by mining on their mobile phone. And that's when you will see adoption go crazy. Did I say that right, Max?
Yeah, so the blockchain is currently 2 gigs, and that makes it mobile friendly. That's one of the reasons. The other reason is that it uses multiple algorithms, and so we can tune it for different hardware types. If you have cell phones competing on the same algorithm as an ASIC that is specifically designed for that, then no cell phones would get any reward. They just don't have the power. And so part of the magic of Epic, beyond the Mimblewimble goodness, is the multi-algorithm system. And so in this case, there's an algorithm called random ARM for the ARM chipsets that power mobile devices that enables people to run, or will enable people to run on mobile. And if you have a server farm or a GPU or different types of hardware, it actually will not be as effective, not even nearly as effective as a humble cell phone. And so those people that have that hardware will likely stay in their lane and go to what they should be mining, rather than hogging all the mobile rewards.
All right. Couple more questions, Becky.
Yeah, we have another question. I know that Diego Jesus, I forget what you call him, Monero Jesus.
Monero Jesus.
Monero Jesus is working on the new wallet. We had a question about the security features on the new wallet.
The security features?
Yes.
Max, maybe you can speak to that. All I have is the his designs.
What security features specifically? Is there one that you're wanting to make sure is there?
Do you have a question, Captain?
No, we're just wondering what types of security features there will be. And
Nice sweatshirt you have there.
and the other question was, how secure is the Byeee wallet and the new security features going forward into the new wallets?
And Max, a little bit of context that I remember from Captain's interview with me is he had a wallet early Bitcoin days, and there was a back door, and he totally got screwed. So there's a little bit of sensitivity there. rightful.
So
Yes.
the wallet was closed source, I assume. Captain, do you recall if the wallet was open source or closed source?
I'm not sure. It was the original blockchain wallet that first came out probably in 2010 or 11, maybe.
So if there was a backdoor, almost always that would be in a centralized or not centralized, closed source context, because people generally, if they're doing open source, don't try to include those types of things because people will find them. So not knowing the specifics, Veet and also our forthcoming mobile wallet are completely open source and locally validated. So the two vulnerabilities are closed source, meaning there's some monkey business in the code. That one we can check off because it's open. The next is if it's centralized, in other words, if you give up control of your keys, and in this case, you don't, you're just locally accessing your stored data. And so with those two things in mind, I think you're pretty good. The next step though, is to make sure that your local device is secure. And so a shout out to Epic Cache Help Desk, t.me/Epic Cache Help Desk. If anybody has questions or needs help on things like that, we can help with security hygiene and basics. So as long as you don't let anyone get access to your private key or seed words, then you're good. Unfortunately, there's a lot of scams out there and a lot of people that are looking to take advantage. And so a bit of prevention and education goes a long way in those areas.
Thanks, Max.
Good questions.
You.
Anybody else?
I think that was
You
the
know
last of the questions.
You know what? How about is there any plans for Epic to like be able to use it on Amazon or anything else like on a major retailer?
Yeah, so when we're big enough that it's worth it for those guys to integrate, I'm sure they will. We don't have anything to do with it. Anybody can do whatever they want with the code. So that could, I mean, obviously it's not going to, but there's nothing stopping that from happening today, aside from market appetite and will. So it's actually a very interesting thing because there's this concept called Gresham's law that BTC people have pointed to as far as a reason why their asset is going to go to the moon. But that's actually a problem for spending. If you look back to the history of cryptocurrency adoption, back during the first waves of excitement, let's say 2013, 2014-ish, you had retailers that were saying, now we're going to accept Bitcoin as payment. And then they discovered that nobody wanted to pay. Well, why would you pay in an asset that's going to appreciate when you could pay using your depreciating dollars? And that's what people did. And so it kind of fizzled out. So I think I think that the crypto dollar will be a key unlocker for that demand, because even when retailers want to receive revenue, not just retailers, when merchants want to receive revenue in Epic, the customers still have to want to pay. And there you get into what I think we'll likely see, and anecdotally, informally, what I'm seeing around me, which is that people that accept Epic tend to go, well, you know, it's more efficient for me, better in this ways. Okay, how about X% discount if you pay an Epic? We're familiar, if you go to the groceries or the gas station, here's the price for credit card, and then there's a 10 cents a gallon cash discount or whatever. Same type of thing here. So I think what you'll actually see is that people tend to, or will tend to use EUSD as the denominator. In other words, this product is $100. I owe you $100. I'm going to click here to pay for it. And then at the underlying level, it's a certain amount of Epic that satisfies that. and whether the customer is posting their Epic as collateral to their smart contracts, and then it's sending EUSD to the merchant, and then they're keeping it as a USD or keeping Epic on their balance sheet. That's up to them. But essentially what we're doing is making it so that people can use Epic as the underlying settlement layer while referencing a quantum of dollar value, which we're used to in the transaction. The challenge, of course, is to make all of that seamless and easy and bulletproof, and that all doesn't happen overnight. So I would say if we are talking here at the Singularity 6 summers from now, and Amazon has any of our stuff on there and you can buy with it directly, that would be wonderful. But in the meantime, there's nothing preventing third parties from essentially creating wraparound services. Like if you want something from Amazon and you know somebody that will go and buy it with their credit card and you can send them coins, then essentially you have the ability to buy products from Amazon. And not to get ahead of ourselves, but I know people that are working on exactly that. So like Epic has a value, people are willing to accept it in the normal course of business. And if the merchant that you don't want to, that you want to do business with doesn't want to, then chances are the market, if allowed, will find a way. So I think that the ability to actually spend Epic is quite a bit closer than it may appear, because the actual merchant integrations are not always strictly necessary, as long as third parties could slot in. So I think you'll see kind of like an overlay layer where people want to buy Uber Eats and Amazon and all these different services, and it's not possible. So you'll see different types of providers crop up.
Hey, Max, I want to end this by asking you a couple of questions. What was the guesstimate price of Epic a year ago?
Oh, we're in December, so I don't know. Probably 10 to 50 cents if I had to guess.
Oh, 10 to 50?
I have to.
I think it would.
I'll check while you go on. Continue.
All right. Right. Okay. Well, I wanted to use that just to be able to demonstrate where we are now. You know, we got up to 680, and I'm on record, which my opinion doesn't mean anything, but based upon what I know and based upon what I've learned from you, and I lean on Enrique a little bit, who knows a lot more about this than I do. My number at the end of 2022 is $1,000 a coin. I think if we hit $100 a coin, everybody would be really, really happy. I know you're on record of saying that it's a lot more than $1,000, and we won't have you unpack all of that here, but it's your track record hasn't been too bad, Max. And I just want to share with everyone who looks at the price at $5 and thinks, man, I've missed out, is we've just gotten started. We have just gotten started. People are going to be bragging about buying Epic Cash under $10, and that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. If anybody disagrees with me, I'll buy your Epic Cash for a discount. All right, Puccinelli, look at that smile there. Thank you, Mr.
$1,000 a coin. It's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ruth, Grandma Ruth, thank you. It's a pleasure meeting you. Becky,
Nice meeting you too.
Yeah, Becky, Captain, and everybody. Thank you. Everyone in the chat. Appreciate you guys coming on over. And Max, I always appreciate you having you on. I know you're an early bird, so this is probably very late for you. And thank you for giving up part of your evening. So Becky, unless there's anything else, what do you think? Should we call it a wrap?
Please thank them.
Yes, of course. We have just one more question. I think it can be pretty quick.
Sure.
Well, actually, two quick ones.
Okay.
First of all, we had a question about, is there a transaction fee?
For Epic?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fraction of a penny right now.
And then second of all, where's the code words or the I don't know, mnemonic phrases to recover the wallet actually held on the chain or a central server?
So you hold your mnemonic words, your seed words locally there with you. So
my device breaks and now I have to get the wallet back. I'm able to do that because I know the seed words.
correct.
So how is it that my wallet is coming back to me?
So
Where is that information being held?
So just like a pair of sunglasses enables you to see a particular view of the world, a wallet is just a way of accessing and interacting with data that's stored on the blockchain. So no matter what wallet you use, let's take an Ethereum wallet, Trust Wallet, Coinbase wallet, MetaMask, any of those, all they're doing is interacting on your behalf with the blockchain. It's the same thing here.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's no central anybody or anything that's holding your mnemonic words too. That's just embedded in the blockchain.
Yeah. Only you.
But that's on,
That's
that's
the
up
way
to
you want
each
it.
wallet. Is that right? Right? So each wallet is different?
No.
No?
A wallet is simply software that takes your control over the money. In other words, your private key that you give it, and you are working with the data stored on the chain. So that it's not as if there's a wallet somewhere and that data is where, or that location is where the data resides. The data always remains on the blockchain, and the wallet is just the access code to that data, if that makes sense.
So Max, so if I have my cell phone and I have my Vite wallet, which is, and I hold my coins on the Vite exchange currently, and I have some kind of a biking accident and my phone goes and somebody runs over it and I'm like, oh no, and I get a new phone, but now the Diego wallet is out and I want to download the Diego wallet. I don't have to download the Vite wallet to get my coins to send. I can just download the Diego wallet and restore my coins within the Diego wallet. Is that true? Or probably not, because Vite, they're tokens over there. That's a bad example. All right. Save me from myself there, Max. He hung up on me.
So I think the answer is if you have a wallet, right, you can have multiple coins within your wallet. But so if you have the Vite wallet, you don't just have to have Epic. So I think for you to get the Diego wallet, you have to sign up for a Diego wallet. That's going to be separate mnemonic words than what you have with your Vite wallet. And then once you have the wallet, you can send coins from one. Like if I had two physical wallets, I could take my coins out of one wallet and put it in the other wallet.
I got you. Okay.
Does
that make sense?
I got disconnected, so I'm not sure what I missed. But so Vite is its own chain, Epic is its own chain. So moving, from the token version to the coin version, there's a bit of complexity there. But the principle is the same. If you have the seed words, then you are in control of the money. And in Apple iOS, you only have one version of the operating system. There's many flavors of Android. We're more like Android, where hopefully there will be many different wallets competing for what's best for the user, not just one quote official one. So Mike, there won't actually be any type of sign up process like today. You can just download from wherever and run it. There's no marketing collection or data capture or anything there. It's just, people need to get their hands on the software somehow.
Okay, so ultimately they would get the Diego wallet, and then because Vite is their own blockchain and our coins that we have on there are representative, they're basically tokens. we would then need to send those coins from Vite to I'm just calling it the Diego wallet, right?
You wouldn't even need to do that. I mean, it would just be a tap, like all that can be abstracted away. You'd be able to hit a button. I mean,
Okay.
maybe not day one, but
Right.
essentially there's no reason to make people jump through hoops when it could all be done through software to go from one to the other.
Okay. Cool. All right. Anything else, Becky Boo?
No, you covered everything and went above and beyond. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everyone. Enjoy. I hope we didn't keep you from dinner, but go enjoy dinner.
Thank you so much, Max, Mr. P,
Thanks,
Uncle Vane.
guys.
All
Always
right.
a
We'll see
pleasure.
you.